closed.
Roland Drake.
Possibly.
All the heroes fall. World plays its wicked games. And I left defenseless, 'cause I know
You eventually will beg me to throw you off this roof.
the sky's gonna say my name.
I can't tell you where the diamond is.
All the heroes fall.
I loved you.
World plays its wicked games. And I left defenseless, 'cause I know the sky's gonna say my name. The sky's gonna say my name. The sky's gonna say my name. Sky's gonna say my name.
Well, good evening and welcome to The Real Deal with Tom Konkle. It is an amazing opportunity. I am incredibly honored to be with Tom Konkle, who I'll be introducing in a minute. I want to say hello and welcome to everybody that we've got here that showed up for the chat. Thank you so much for showing up. We're going to give a shout out to Baron Ormontag, a shout out to Dragon Master 360. Welcome to you. Thanks for being here. My good friend, my good buddy, Troy Pacelli. It's wonderful to see you. The lovely Sherry, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Shooter 1991, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello to the great YouTube producer of so many channels, Pat S. Welcome to you, sir. And of course, a big hello, sweetie, to Netters Network. Wonderful to have you here with us tonight. A shout out also to my good friend War Monkey. Olaf Van Ness and War Monkey are great, great friends of mine that I see on so many streams around YouTube. Huge shout out to Green Lion. Hail, Green Lion. Welcome to you, Southern Viking. Wonderful to have you here. Bonzo Kilborn, thank you so much for being here. Hail to the wonderful and amazing Script Doctor, my very good friend, my very great brother, Script Doctor, that I have the opportunity to be with on so many shows. A man who's taught me a lot about Hollywood, and I value him greatly. Lady Mist, hello, and thank you so much for being here. I know we've got some other people that are showing up, and I want to thank everyone for being here. Well, it is my honor and my privilege to introduce a man I call the great Tom Konkle. And I want to share a little bit about how we came to this little path here of how we came to this stream. And I'll start with myself. And what happened is that there was a little Mexican Iron Man was listening to his YouTube on Midnight Sedge one day. And I was on Midnight Sedge. I'm sorry, I wasn't on the show. I was just listening. And I heard Tom Konkle come on as a guest. And he was talking about movie making. And I found his sincerity. I found your sincerity amazing. I thought that you were really opening up and sharing a lot of knowledge and things that I had never thought of about Hollywood. I remember a couple years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, that I had a very deep conversation with Script Doctor about things, about writing and things. And listening to you talk on Midnight Sedge reminded me of that conversation, except not so much from the writing style. You were talking about the filmmaking. For those of you who don't know, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce the great Tom Konkle. He is a film director, published book author, studio staff writer on series, screenwriter, actor, and producer. He began as a comic actor and writer who has also transitioned to playing sarcastic heroes and as well diabolical villains. Tom is known for his appearances in the Art of Football comedy television show with John Cleese, Trouble Is My Business, and Cosmos. He is an award-winning actor, feature film director of Trouble Is My Business, which we're going to look at today, and The Longest Knife. Tom has written episodes of the Warner Brothers series Be Cool, Scooby-Doo. Tom has starred in features like The Noise in the Middle and dozens of short films like Who Makes Movies, Sanctuary. He's appeared in comedy films with David Beeler, including Seat Fillers, The Animal in Us All, The Secret of Happiness, Archaeology of Comedy, Destiny Stop, Tom has written screenplays including Animus and Last Breath. His stage career is extensive with shows including The Real Inspector Hound, Beyond the Fridge, and many, many more. Tom was a series regular on NBC Spy TV, Sci-Fi Channel Scare Tactics. Love that show, by the way.
That was fun.
Fox's The Orlando Jones Show, Community, Arrested Development, NBC's The Office, Back to You, Secret Life of American Teenager, and CW's The Game. I could go on, and I was fascinated because in your IMDb credit, you've got more than a dozen projects in development. You've got 48 past film and video titles that are on your credits, and your TV list just goes on and on and on.
I'm tired.
Tom Konkle, it is an honor to meet you. Say hello to everyone that's joining us today.
Oh, thank you to Mike, Mexican Iron Man, everybody in the chat. What a wonderful introduction. It does make you tired to hear all that. I love making movies, and something that drew me to you when we met on Midnight Edge is our love of story, of getting into things, to learn new things, to learn about the craft of telling a story and about filmmaking. And I'm just really excited to be here today to just have a conversation about it and talk about it. You've been such a supporter and fan of the movie. It made complete sense that we just sit down, like, two buddies sit down and have a conversation about the movie. I happen to make it, but we'll talk about it.
Well, I heard you on Midnight's Edge, and I'm the kind of guy that if I like something, I take action. If I hear an author and I find them engaging, I buy their book. I buy the comic book. I buy, and you, I found incredibly engaging. So what happened with you is that I ordered the movie on my iPad. I remember that. And I remember watching it on my iPad, and I loved it. And ladies and gentlemen, let me just say something from the outset. Today is going to be about three things. Number one, we're going to learn about Tom Konkle, and we're going to learn about this movie. Number two, we're going to learn about the movie making process. And more importantly, you are going to have your chance to ask your own questions. And if some of you have the dream of becoming Tom Konkle in your own life, this is where you're going to learn some things, because we're going to use Trouble Is My Business as a master class in a few different things that we're going to teach you about, show you, and illustrate. We put together a show plan. This is not a random live stream. We actually have a show plan. We have the movie in black and white. We also have the movie in color. We're going to be bringing up various scenes. And once we go through our material, we're going to open it up so that each of you that have any questions, don't worry about super chatting. If you just have a question, you're going to get your questions answered at the end of the show. By the way, we also have a special promotion that if you stay till the end, and you got to be here in the last 15 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you stay till the end, you will have the opportunity to win up to 5 copies of the film that Mr. Konkle will be signing, and we will be sending out to you signed copies. Yes. I myself own multiple signed copies. I have a black and white signed one. I got a color signed one. I actually even have the actual script book that you signed for me. Now,
yes, that's right. Yes,
that's right. And so the way I found you is I watched you on my iPad. I'm going to share my story, my fanboy story. So I watched you on the iPad. Loved the movie. Loved it so much that I then ordered it. And I then broadcast it in my backyard. I have a backyard that's pretty open with chairs. I was able to set up an outdoor projector, which I use for clients. I have a portable outdoor projector and a portable screen. And I set that up and I broadcast it. And I had some neighbors over last year. I told you about it. I think I mentioned it when you and I talked one time. And everybody that I showed the movie to thoroughly loved it. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not a fan of film noir.
Which I found fascinating. Yeah, you were not familiar with the genre. Yeah,
I was not familiar with it, and what little few movies that I think I've seen on late Saturday or Sunday afternoons never really grabbed me. Love this film though, totally loved it. Everybody enjoyed it. I then became a super fan, and I ordered a color copy. I later saw a black and white trailer.
That's right.
Andre and Tom from Midnight's Edge were so nice. They found out that I was a big fan of yours. They booked you on the show, and then they told me they needed me for a show. And I showed up, ran into you backstage, and literally freaked out. I'm like,
it was great.
In. Do you remember that? I logged in.
You were like, wait a minute, what the?
I'm like, Tom Konkle's here. And I almost hit the leave broadcast button.
I loved that. You made my day with that. It was wonderful because you were like, wait a second, what? I'm like, what? Yeah, that's how we met, and It's so fun to hear. You're right. The different formats are a different experience, aren't they? What you watch it in black and white or color or the size of the format, it makes a huge difference.
One of the things that I want to get started with and talk to you about, and ladies and gentlemen, the movie that we're talking about here, let me go ahead and share it. Let me share it. I want to open things up before we get into some of the scenes. I want everybody to know what we're talking about. The movie is Trouble Is My Business with the great Vernon Wells, such a
Yes.
phenomenal actor for so
He's
many years.
terrific and a wonderful human too. Yeah.
He seems that way. Brittany Powell,
Yep. Brittany. Yep. She's fantastic.
massive fan of her work.
Yep.
Of yourself, Ben Pace was also in the movie. Jordana Capra, David Beeler, Steve Tom. You had a wonderful team. I mean, the team
Yes,
on this
we
movie
did.
is great.
Steve
Now-
Tom, you probably recognize. He was in Dumber and Dumberer. He was a bunch of different characters on TV. He's just a class guy. He plays the Russian mobster. He is fantastic. He was the face of Funny or Die online for a while. He had the horn rim glasses on. He was on billboards everywhere. He's just wonderful.
David Beeler.
Dave Beeler. I have performed with Dave Beeler for almost, I would say, 24 years. We started off doing a live British double act routine where we would be on stage. And then we ended up starting an internet company together doing internet videos. We got cast together in a commercial where they didn't know we knew each other. And they're like, you guys are pretty good together. This is after we'd performed for years. And we're like, yeah, we're doing a show around the corner. He's like, no, really. Don't BS me. You guys are great. And we're like, we'll take you to the show right now. So they put us together without knowing that we were a double act.
The great Jordana Capra.
Oh, she's wonderful. She plays the matriarch. I actually wrote this with her voice in my head. She has that kind of, yes, I know about that voice. And I really think she's absolutely perfect as that just biting old school voice, that look, that severe look that she has. She's believable as Jennifer's mom, but also she's believable as this kind of rot that exists inside the Montemar family. I love her as an actress.
Ben Pace.
Yes, Ben Pace, so funny. He plays Johnny. Again, casting is so important that he was the perfect man for that job because he's the kind of guy who thinks he's smarter than everyone in the room, and he isn't. He's the kind of guy who is proud that he's never worked a day of his life, and he's just a sarcastic, wonderful character that, frankly, you love seeing die.
Right. He's a little not to get too political.
He's a little touche. Yeah.
A little SJW-ish kind of thing,
Yes, he is. Yes,
and then,
he
of
is.
course, the absolutely stunningly
Brittany.
attractive and intelligent and amazing actress Brittany Powell.
Yeah, I've worked with her on over 20 different productions. She's absolutely wonderful, dear friend. Her first film was Airborne, which she did with Seth Green and Jack Black. It was actually the first production by Mel Gibson's company, by Icon. It was a classic of kind of early 90s skater. I loved creating the character with her. I wanted a female point of view when I was writing the script, and she provided it. She helped provide some structure and notes on female logic and creating a femme fatale that really is believable, that you could be, wrapped into the honey that is her attraction, but then also the kind of evil and the kind of manipulation that a femme fatale, a classic femme fatale does. Anyone who knows film noir knows that archetype of the woman who is poison, but you just have to have her. She is a classic archetype, and she was genetically designed to play the part.
Indeed, and genetically designed well. And the great Vernon Wells.
And the great Vernon Wells, who
Commando, the Road Warrior, Weird Science, and
and he's become a great friend. He's fantastic as an actor. He's very, very physical. His work ethic is amazing. I have to tell you the story of how I met him. Can I tell you real quickly?
Please do, of course.
Yeah. So when I first moved to Los Angeles, I took a crappy job. I had been living in my car. I moved here from Virginia, and I really wanted to make movies, but I didn't know many people out here. So, as they say, Cortez style, you burn the boats when you arrive because you can't go back. And so I got a job in a circuit city in Van Nuys for Christmas Help the first year I was here, and in walks Vernon Wells. I was like maybe 21, 22 years old. And I see him, and then this wasn't long after Weird Science, and the first beta tape I ever got was The Road Warrior, and I wore it out. And so I see him walk into the Circuit City. I run up to him and I'm like, Mr. Wells, I moved here to make movies. One day I'm going to make a movie with you. And he looks at me and he's like, yeah, sure, kid. Show me the Walkman. So I show him the Walkman and do whatever. So we flash forward 20 years. I'm in a commercial audition. He walks in and I get paired with him on the commercial. We start talking. Our mutual friend, Virginia Hay, who is from Farscape, who's a good friend of his, says, hey, I can give you his contact information, whatever. You got along with him in the audition. You should ring him up. I ring him up. We get along great. I say, I've got this perfect part of the villain in this thing. You want to have some lunch? I'll take you to lunch in Santa Monica. He loves it. We get along and we start working on this thing. So later, I'm tied to a chair in a scene and he's beating the crap out of me. And I go, wait, Vernon, you're not going to believe this. 20 years ago in a Circuit City, I told you you'd be here.
Wow.
You could not write that. He was the first person I ever saw, and in my first big feature, he's the villain beating me up. I love that story.
Wow, that is amazing. That is an amazing, that is an amazing story.
Yep.
Wow. Real quickly, I just want to highlight a super chat that came in. This is from Justice Fatsegal, our good friend Steven. Greetings, Tom. Love the hat, he said.
Thank you. This is one of the hats that Dave Beeler wore as Lou McDonald, the unscrupulous ex-partner of Roland Drake. Thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate it.
And Loki from Loki's Mornings of
Whoa!
The great Stone Loki says skull and sends in a $10.
Thank you, Loki. That's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you both so ever so much. Really, really appreciate it. Well, one of the things that we've just done is we've talked about the importance of team. And I wanted to ask you, before we get into the different scenes, I have 4 questions I wanted to ask you. Number 1, why did you choose this genre? That's your first question. And why did you choose this story for this genre?
Okay, that's a great question. There came a time in my life, I worked a lot as an actor and as a director on other people's things and writing on other people's things. But I said to myself, I was getting to the point in my life where I said, do I want to be a waiter or do I want to once own the restaurant? And I thought, what kind of a movie can I make that's me, that I can care about? And I started thinking about it. And it's funny, the aesthetic of film noir originally in the 40s was because they didn't have any money. They didn't light any sets. They just used dramatic light. It was very lean. It was essentially what an indie low-budget movie is now, is what Warner Brothers was doing then. If you look at Maltese Falcon or all these things, those are shot on a lean budget. As you know, when your money flow is not great, you have to have an economy of scale. You have to figure out where your resources as that finances, where do you put them? And I thought, you know what? Film noir makes sense to me because I didn't want to make a typical movie that wasn't me. It's not 2 guys sitting on the sofa talking about pudding or whatever. As an indie film, that's just not me. I wanted to make genre movies. I like old school 80s, movies. I love film noir. I love all that. And I'm like, I want to make a genre film. I want to do something ambitious. So film noir made sense because it has an economy of scale. You can use light and shadow. I shot this with the same aesthetic that you would have had if you didn't have any money and you were working for Warner Brothers. And their A pictures are spending all this money, and the other pictures are like, no, these are the lean, scrappy little things. So you got to do that. And that's why I picked film noir.
Well, I think what we should do real quick is define for folks at home what is film noir. Wiki says it's a cinematic term used primarily to describe stylish Hollywood crime dramas, particularly those that emphasize cynical attitudes and motivations. The 40s and 50s are generally regarded as a classic period of American film noir. Film noir of this era is associated with a low-key, black and white visual style that has roots in German expressionist cinematography. Many of the prototypical stories and much of the attitude of classic noir derive from the hard-boiled school of crime fiction that emerged in the United States during the Great Depression.
Very true. You're right. It's both things. It's a stylistic choice, but it's also an outlook on life. You know what I mean? It's a certain, you and I talk about that, where it's your friend who's heading for the brick wall. You warn them about the girl, you warn them not to do it, but they slam into that wall anyway. But when they do it with style, they do it with light and shadow, they do it with the kind of highly surreal, kind of dreamlike imagery that you have in film noir. And that is what defines it. It defines it in an attitude. It's not just, film noir is not just putting shadows up and acting like you're in it. It's a point of view. You have to live in a very prosperous country to have the luxury to have that dark a vision of life sometimes. And that for me is everything. And so
now let's jump into this story. Why did you want to tell this story? In
this story really came to
that passionate voice that came out within you. What was that passion that came out and said, why this story?
Two things. I thought, you know what, from my point of view, knowing what I know now about how detectives work and how mysteries work, I thought back then information didn't travel very well. So if you didn't have a body, if you didn't have a way to type blood, how could the me now get away with the ultimate crimes back then? And so I started thinking, you know what if somebody did a crime, which is the crime that ends up happening, and how would they get caught? Because you don't have the tools that you have now. Information doesn't go. And then the second thing I thought about is, what's more valuable, things or the information? And then I said, you know what? I want to write something like that that's about people. I want to write about how people can use each other, how people are looking for redemption. And to me, Roland Drake was this knight in rusted armor. You know, he was evicted from his life. It was very much a reflection of where I was in my life, where I felt I didn't even feel like I belonged in my own place. And so I started that. I wrote backwards from the mystery that I knew was going to happen, but I fell in love with all the characters that populated it. And so the thing that made me feel most passionate when I created Trouble Is My Business, and then I was writing with Brittany, and then I started assembling a team, because no movie gets made without a team. Everybody made incredible contribution, but I was responsible for everyone marching in the same direction. I was responsible for having a vision of any kind and making decisions. And I feel like my passion was, I wanted to see if I could tell this story back in time and tell a mystery that had characters that were amusing and interesting, and twist the audience around and say a little bit about what it's like to be a human being in the middle of it.
And one of the comments I want to highlight is Shooter 1991 Production says in chat, noir is the way to go. Blade Runner, Dark City, Sin City,
Yes.
La Noire, Max Payne.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, there's some great, those are great, you know, even neo-noir. I had the honor of the director of Dark City even gave me some notes on color timing and what he thought of my movie, Alex Proyas, who I never would have met had I not made a movie. So he's absolutely right. Noir continues to be relevant because it's not just of a time, it's of an attitude.
And Loki's Mornings of Mischief comments, detectives had to actually do real detective work back then and had to be masters of their craft.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, when you watch the movie, Lou McDonald, who is actually a tribute to one of my favorite noir authors, is Ross McDonald, and he has a character named Lou Archer. So I combined Lou and Ross McDonald's name to create Lou McDonald. Lou McDonald is the shadowy version of Roland Drake, our hero. And what I mean by that is he's all about appearances. You don't want a lawyer who pulls up in a Yugo. You want a lawyer that pulls up in a BMW. Well, he is if you watch Trouble Is My Business, every scene that Lou McDonald is in, he ends with some kind of flourish. He ends with some kind of flip of a coin. He ends with something that shows his style over substance. But he's successful at it because that's exactly what people wanted. Whereas your schlub, your guy like me, he has a heart of gold, but he's his own worst enemy, and he isn't about the style.
Right. Now, let's go ahead. And one of the things that's unique about your film is that I watched it in color. The first 3, 4. Okay, so for those of home, I've seen this movie that I can count 9 times beginning to end, non-stopping, and probably 3 or 4 more times, little pieces here and there that I had to go back and watch. So I've seen this movie one way or the other almost a dozen times.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and 3 times in black and white.
My preferred version is black and white.
Now let's talk about that. What is we're now gonna, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a couple more super chats that came in. Let me get to these.
Oh, terrific! Yeah,
did I get these? Troy Pacelli cannot put a price on a stream like this. Wow, that's a very great compliment.
Thank you, Troy.
But here's the feed. Thanks so much, Troy Pacelli. Thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you very much.
That's very generous of you.
Very
And
generous.
then Olaf Van Ness sends in, I think that's
Euro?
2 euros.
Mhm.
1 a.m. where he's at, but I'd stay here till the end. Says it should be fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
indeed.
Olaf.
Thank you, everyone, for the support. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get into the masterclass component of this. We've done the intro, we've talked about the film, we've talked about the team, we've talked about the actors. Now let's get into the masterclass portion of it. And what I
Absolutely.
want to talk about is we're going to bring up on the screen your film in black and white and in color. I wanted to ask you, why did you do it in both versions, and how did that come about?
Well, it was an artistic conceit, and also there was a commercial conceit. I always intended it to be in black and white, not because I wanted it to look like an old-timey film or any nonsense like that. I don't really care about that. What I cared about is that black and white is more like a dream to me. Black and white makes you a more distant feeling, a more abstract feeling about the characters, where color, it looks like real life. Now you can have high style in color and you can have textures and contrast, but I meant it to be black and white. But at the last minute, Mike, I thought, you know what? In today's market, which, in 2018, we better be careful, because there's not a lot of black and white streaming. And so I picked colors in a palette. And what I mean by that is when you pick a wall, or something, if it's green, it renders a certain shade of gray on screen. Same with costumes, same with the heaviness of the makeup. It all has to work. So I made it work in color just in case it had to be in color, but I watched it and monitored it in black and white as well. Now, to do all the visual effects, you have to shoot color. Everything that has green screen and compositing, you need that color information. I created an entire world with it. So it was shot in color, but lit, composed, and really looked at in black and white. I want it to be black and white. What happened was there was pushback from a lot of streamers. A lot of streamers said, we absolutely love this movie.
Streamers would be Amazon,
yeah,
YouTube
Amazon
TV.
Tubi. It's on Tubi. Yeah, all of that. They all come back, Apple. They all come back and they go, we really like the film. It hasn't been reviewed a lot, but I think it's still at 100% Rotten Tomatoes. And they were like, sure, yeah, we'll put it up. But do you have it in color? So fortunately, Mike Smith, who is my producing partner, who also, he and I do the post, he's a wizard at that, and really gets me. He has an incredible aesthetic. We cut a version in color to have it. And we retimed it, and we made a decision. He and I sat down, and I said, you know what? When we're inside, I want it to feel warm and tungsten. So let's have that color palette inside. When we're outside, cold blue. Lots of feeling, almost like James Cameron uses in his B movies from the 80s. Everything was like lit with blue and everything. So we went with a blue kind of cool palette there and a little warmer inside. And then we did a second version, which had the black and white, which is exactly what I wanted, which is all the contrast and the shadow and finding details in the black. And by doing that, it created two completely different experiences. Well, and I know you experienced it differently, didn't you?
Let's take a look at these scenes real quick in color and in black and white, back to back. Okay. You let me know when we're going to stop each scene, and then I'm going to talk about what my reaction was, because it was pretty deep and profound. All right, here we go.
Including me. Good night, Drake. It's a shame what happened.
We're closed.
Roland Drake?
Possibly.
I want to see you.
Well, pick up a local gossip rag. You'll see plenty.
I do read the papers. I gathered you weren't planning on being a very busy man anymore.
Nice.
That doesn't change the fact that I need to see you. Now.
Come back tomorrow. I won't be busy then either.
I'm downstairs. I said now.
Well, I can't say no to a lady. Or you.
Ha!
Made a feeble attempt to straighten things up for her, to hide the inward chaos of my life, before her shadow eclipsed everything.
It's open.
Yeah, I thought you'd save me.
Oh, give me time.
Looks like you only have 30 days.
All right, so how can I help you, Mrs.
Miss Montemar.
Of course.
She had a face that would launch 1,000 ships and a body that would bring them back.
Now, you mentioned needing saving.
Sadly, it's no coincidence that I've come to you, Mr. Drake.
I didn't think that this was a happy accident.
Why's this?
Where do you get to know the rest of me?
Oh, I'm not here to get to know the rest of you.
Pity.
I'm here to find out what happened to my father.
Montemar. Didn't I read something about him going missing in the papers last week?
I think my entire family's in danger, Mr. Drake.
Who do you think did it?
I don't know.
Oh, come on, Miss Montemar. We both read the papers. I don't believe the story you're selling. So why don't you just take it to the cops?
He's missing. I don't know that he's been murdered.
All right. Now, what do you say we take a look at that now in black and white?
Black and white, different feel.
Now, anything you want to note before I started in black and white?
Just look at the power dynamic. As I was, the eyes are your demise. Somebody said that's funny. The power dynamic was so important. You'll see the distance between them, and in black and white, notice who's over who's shadowing who, where the power is, and how the space is filled up in that. Take a look at it now in black and white.
All right, here we go, everyone.
I was alone in my office. Nothing in there seemed like it belonged to me anymore, including me.
Good night, Drake. It's a shame what happened.
We're closed.
Roland Drake,
Possibly.
I want to see you.
Don't pick up a local gossip rag. You'll see plenty.
I do read the papers. I gathered you weren't planning on being a very busy man anymore.
Nice.
That doesn't change the fact that I need to see you. Now.
Come back tomorrow. I won't be busy then either.
I'm downstairs. I said now.
Well, I can't say no to a lady.
But you better.
Or you.
Don't be like Mexican
I
Iron
made
Man.
a feeble attempt to straighten things up for her, to hide the inward chaos of my life before her shadow eclipsed everything.
Look at those shadows.
It's open.
Yeah, I thought you'd save me.
Oh, give me time.
Looks like you only have 30 days.
All right, so how can I help you, Mrs.
Miss Montemar.
That's
Of
where
course.
she's in.
She had a face that would launch 1,000 ships and a body that would bring them back.
Now, you mentioned needing saving.
Sadly, it's no coincidence that I've come to you, Mr. Drake.
I didn't think that this was a happy accident.
Why's this?
Where do you get to know the rest of me?
Oh, I'm not here to get to know the rest of you.
Pity.
I'm here to find out what happened to my father.
Montemar. Didn't I read something about him going missing in the papers last week?
I think my entire family's in danger, Mr. Drake.
All right, let's stop
Yeah.
there and take a
Big
take a look.
difference. Yeah, you notice even you could see the curl of the smoke next to me when I'm answering the phone better in the black and white. You notice
Right.
that texture on the wall, the rotating fan, that it's hot that night, that things are closing up. You get so much of a sense of the power struggle. She's over him, looking down at him, casting a shadow on him and on the door when his name is on the door, and she blots him out.
Right. I didn't notice these shadows until I saw it in black and white on my 80-inch TV. I didn't even notice that in color.
Yeah. You were mentioning that on a black and white experience and on a bigger screen, it really does feel different. You feel the space differently.
I felt that, like right there. There's an example right there. What I found profoundly different when I watched it in black and white. I felt like right here. There's another one. Let me go back.
Mhm.
Let me go back. Let me see if I can pause that and grab that real quick. I'm going to grab it right where she stops and walks. When we get the depth again. What I found is it reminded me of when you wake up from a dream and you
Yes.
thought the dream was real.
Yes.
So when I saw it in black and white, there was something about it that when I was done with the movie, it felt a little bit, it gave me that same feeling like you wake up at 3 or 5 in the morning or 8 in the morning. And,
Yes.
and you're like, whoa, that was real. You know, it wasn't real, but it felt real.
Yeah, it's a dream time. And I'm seeing from the chat that people are really resonating with the black and white. And I have to agree with you all. The black and white, this shot right here is called Two Faces East. It's a shot that became very popular as soon as lenses got faster. If you keep going forward just a little bit, I'll show you what I mean. It's where she is. Yeah, she is in focus and I am slightly out, and then I will step up into that focal plane and we're playing out to the audience as if they're part of this intimate conversation. And that kind of thing in black and white, look how the darkness of her hat frames her face. Look how he is still in the light, but he's going to move into the dark with her. All of that was calculated. I planned everything. There, if you watch it, there's an Easter egg in it, and this doesn't ruin anything, but there's a globe that factors through the entire thing.
Yes.
There's a globe in this that is a dark globe behind her. Later, you'll see that the world is turned upside down. As she turns his world upside down, the actual globe is upside down. And at the end, she actually spins the globe and wrecks his world.
Oh,
and
I
so
remember that.
The globe is there. You can find it in maybe 50 different ways, 50 different shots, but it represents turning your world upside down.
And here's where he's come into focus and the depth. Now he's now back with her, and now you're intimately in the conversation because
Yes.
you feel that you're closer to them than even the door is.
Exactly. And it's the first time they're on an equal plane. It's the first time they're both standing, so they both have the same power.
Now, before we go to the next scene, I asked you about this when later we ended up connecting, and you had lunch with me in with Latino Slant. We all
Latino
met.
Slant, yep.
And I love your building scenes. I'm going to show this real quickly because I love this.
The old school building, the brown house. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. I love the smoky aspect to this quality.
Yes.
Real quick, we've got some comments of some people in the chat. I want to note a few of them as we go before we go to the next scene. He says, "Tom is great. I did a review of Trouble Is My Business on my main channel." Oh, great, Shooter.
That's great. Thank you.
That's awesome. Cosmic Vader asked, "Does Heat qualify as noir?" I don't think so.
I think it would be neo-noir.
Yeah,
it definitely has elements of neo-noir in it. And Heat follows a lot of those tropes of the two men that inescapably their destinies are coming together. So yes, absolutely. It's a crime caper. Yeah.
Conspiracy says that he's going to give this movie a watch later. Awesome.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
I'd love to hear from you after you watch it.
Loki's Mornings of Mischief says that thick thighs saves lives. Well, that sounds like the Mexican Iron Man story. Thighs are my demise. Yes, they are.
Demise. That's true.
Okay, so those are some of the comments that we have.
Oh, that's great. You know, I saw some people said that they really enjoyed the black and white, that they liked the contrast, that a few people had watched the beginning of it and kind of pulled them in. That's really gratifying because it was a struggle to get it to do the cinematography. PJ, my cinematographer, and Jesse both did an incredible job of seeing my vision. I know light, like I shoot my own things sometimes, but I really needed somebody there very dedicated to making the look work, because I'm very much about, I even had tiny mirrors set up, and I would shoot a light into the mirror and spin the mirror so it looked like cars going by, or just I would pick a line. You know, Mike, I would have some word that I wanted people to notice. I would have someone stand and sweep the face or sweep the mouth just as I said the line to really accent it. You don't notice it, but subconsciously you do.
Now what we're going to do is look at the second of the four components that we're going to go to. Is we're going to talk about dialogue.
Sure.
I'm going to go ahead and let this run in black and white, or do you prefer color? What do you want to do?
Let's do black and white.
Okay, so we're going to run this. Ladies and gentlemen in the chat and watching on the show and the replay, the purpose of this scene is we're going to showcase the use of dialogue and teach you all as viewers how dialogue should be done, why it's important to do it in a certain way, and what it brings out in the movie. So here we go. By the way, the YouTube volume is kind of low, so for those of you at home, turn it up. I've already got it maxed up.
Okay.
I just got to say thanks for just going out of your way for her.
Yeah, well, not that helping her doesn't have its own benefits, but it is my job. What's your job?
Oh,
So it should tell people, like, without giving away too much of the plot, he shows.
Let me set it up.
Yeah, go ahead and set it up, Tom.
So yeah, Mike, the scene here is she has come in to hire me. This is the sister of the dark-haired girl that came in, the thinner dark-haired girl that walked in. This is her sister Jennifer, and she has hired me to find out what happened to her father, but also her sister, who made love to my character to kind of seduce me, has disappeared. And I woke up with only blood in the bed next to me and a knock on the door, and it was my partner. So she says, look, I don't know what you've done, but I want you to come over to our house and meet my mother. And then he walks in, and there's her boyfriend, Johnny. And Johnny is this kind of dandy. He's never worked a day of his life. Thinks he's very clever, but he isn't. He's the butt of every joke. He's got the kind of luck of a guy who, did a ladder factory tour under every ladder for, he's got really bad luck. And so she's meeting me at the house and inviting me in. And this is Jennifer saying, let's meet everybody at the table and have dinner, and meeting her mother.
And here we go.
Here we go.
Please don't stand. I never do. Where's my firstborn? Isn't Catherine joining us?
There hasn't been one, madam.
Oh, well, just us tonight.
Catherine was quite a dish, Mr. Drake. You might even have a shot with her.
Did you?
No, but I got a thing for brunettes.
Charming.
Evelyn, quite the spread tonight, I must say. Like mother.
You're
like
not
daughter.
funny. No one thinks you're funny.
Is there anything else I can do?
You do enough. He's been my strength since your father disappeared last week. Sweet man.
Over her
Private
shoulder.
investigator, eh? Aren't you good enough to be a police detective?
No. My shoes squeak too much. Ask Rivers.
I don't like a man with a sense of humor. I find it almost as unattractive as a woman with one.
Depends on what she's laughing at.
I rarely laughed before my accident, and less so now. Although I do find it amusing that Jennifer has brought you into our family business. Why?
I would like to help your daughter.
For a fee, I'm sure.
Well, even a Seamus got to eat. Thank you.
Jennifer doesn't have her own money, Mr. Drake, so you must be working for me.
Yeah, we like hard workers around here, Mr. Drake.
Yet you're here too, Jonathan.
Touche.
I told Jennifer about the newspaper stories of your disgraceful behavior, Mr. Drake.
Well, you see how I eat.
Mother, please, you're being rude.
I have a certain morbid fascination with failings. It was difficult to mask my delight at meeting you. You probably notice.
No, as you and your daughter keep pointing out, I'm not that good a detective.
I'm not surprised Jennifer sought you out, Mr. Drake. I'm sure you're the only detective she could recollect from my opinions of your failings regarding that poor girl. Catherine is the reader in this family.
Just because you read accusations in the newspaper doesn't make them true.
Yeah, didn't they say that you were the best, Mr. Drake?
My partner Lou would agree with you, Johnny.
Smart man.
Lou MacDonald's integrity seems quite unassailable. Frankly, I'm not surprised he left your partnership. He cuts quite a fine figure of a man in print.
Lou's always been uncompromising when it comes to appearances.
Well, you seem a little more flexible.
I was down on my luck, Johnny. Why don't you take up reading, find out what's going on?
Sad.
Is it okay? I
They are just barbing each other.
Yeah. So what I want to do is go ahead and let you talk about what's happening and what we should be learning and seeing from the scene.
Yeah, every scene has to have a purpose. The dialogue has to move things forward by revealing character. Everything in this is driving a setting of the table, metaphorically and actually. You'll see she comes in her wheelchair. You know something's happened. That she's a crippled, bent over woman who says, "Don't stand, I never do." And there's an empty place setting to her left, which is the missing black-haired daughter. She's omnipresent. She's always there. Over her shoulder, you'll see there is a raging fire that is her anger. I put that fire there. There's a painting behind her of Wilson Montemar, her husband, who looms over it in this kind of shadowy light. Then you've got Johnny and her on one side of the table and Jennifer on one side of the table, and you see their dynamic, and then Drake alone, separate from them. We've literally set the table, and you have Rivers, the butler, hovering around almost like a shadow to her, where she's like, "He's my strength, he's beside me." And that's an inside joke when he goes, "He's beside me," because as we learn more about his character, he's literally taking her on and becoming something. And I wanted this to have barbs traded where we reveal what's the dynamic between all of them. And my character is kind of above it all. He's quipping, but he's observing the dynamic. A good detective observes the body language. Who's barbing who? How did he touch her? Did they flinch? What's going on in the eyes? And so it's a dance around that table. It was one of the hardest scenes to film because not only did I have to make sure everybody's performance was great, but the cuts away to people's reactions in their face. To cover all of that took a lot of ambition. It's a lot of dialogue. But to me, that's what makes a story like this. If you don't have big explosions and you can't go spaceships, you should at least, it costs nothing to have a decent idea and some fresh dialogue.
Right.
And so I wanted them to really shoot back and forth and barb, because that's how they fight. That's how they define who they are. And if you're doing a scene, you want to define the characters by revealing them in dialogue.
And what I loved after this dinner scene is I love this shot. This is one of my favorite shots. Your use of depth is amazing. Your use of space is just fantastic throughout this movie.
Yes.
And we got some great comments. People are learning a lot about what you're trying to teach them here. Latino Slant comments, damn, dialogue is perfect, Tom. Always alive and fresh, signs of a great writer.
That's great.
A conspiracy exclaims, "Oh, that lady was pretty good, stuck up across Rich." Absolutely.
You've got her number.
Cosmic Vader says, "Wow, every
Yes.
sentence has purpose, whether it's world building, characterization, or plot driven." What say you to that, Tom?
That he completely gets it. Cosmic Vader is completely right. That if you're doing anything, even if you got no money or anything, try and have it be that the dialogue brings that world building out and you get to know the characters. And I use my humor background, everything, to make them as clever and interesting as you possibly can while you're kind of revealing the plot, revealing the character. So I appreciate that comment a lot. Love the dialogue. Oh, great.
Aaron Ormond loves the dialogue, use of the terms of the era.
Yeah, like the flat tire. What's this flat tire one?
Shanatsky, my good friend, observes that noir is a crime film shot much like a horror one.
Wow. That's actually a really good observation. I think you're very right, because German expressionism was used in horror in the 1920s, like the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari with all the patterned lights, and they would shoot through things so you'd get that cool effect like you're looking through a fence, or they call them a cucaloris. A cucaloris is something that is basically a piece of paper or cardboard or metal that has a pattern cut in it that you shoot the light through. It's a cookie, they call it, and it gives you that cool lighting pattern. So yes, you shoot it like a horror film. What is it? Hitchcock said, shoot every love scene like a murder and every murder like a love scene.
Wow, that sounds like Mexican Iron Man's love.
If you're doing it right.
Hollywood needs more stuff like this. It's more about special effects and all the DIE crap. I may have to check out more Tom's work later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Olaf. Yes.
Back in the day, accusations and evidence were everything. My, how times have changed.
Yeah.
Green Lion observes that there's more roast between characters than on the table.
That is, I'm going to steal that quote. Wow.
Oh, that's a good one.
Totally worth it. I love that. More roast. In fact, I served cooked goose. I have them serve cooked goose, actually.
Wow. Pops, I need to track it down and watch this. Pops, if you're able to stay till the end, we're going to be giving away signed copies of this at the end. I'm
Absolutely.
going to be going through the live stream, adding everyone's name to a spinner, and we're going to give away multiple copies of it.
Absolutely.
Olaf says he started it right before the stream. I guess he said in the first 20 minutes he's captivated. So we got another fan already. Troy Pacelli asked this: how do you get a shot like that where the far end of the hall and the face and the foreground are both in focus? Let's take a look at that. Let's blow that up a little bit. How do you do that, Tom?
There are two ways to get that shot. Troy's right. You can composite it. You can have one element that's in focus and another one, and you put the two together. Also in this film, I use split diopter. And what that means is if you're looking at a camera lens, so you have a lens like this, half of the lens is a close-up lens, and the other half lets light just pass through without a lens. And it blurs where the line is. There's a line where I am in profile, and they walk in, and he's got a gun to her back. Well, I'm in focus, and they're there. We shot that with a split diopter where it's in focus really close to the lens and far away. They use that in Raiders of the Lost Ark as well, where Indiana Jones is drinking and Belloc comes into the club with him, and you see his face in profile and Belloc, and both are in focus. That's called a split diopter shot. And this shot right here was created through compositing a split diopter. So that hallway stays in focus, and then Rivers has that beautiful light that kind of contours, and he's intruding into that world. What I had it dark there because his face is breaking in. He said, "Oh no, I don't know anything about this." But he breaks into that space, and we see that he spies on everything. He's twisted. This manservant is one of the most twisted things that lives in the house. And that one shot says everything I wanted to say about him keeping track of everything.
Right. Now, what I'd like to go ahead and do is the next thing that we're going to talk about a little bit has to do with emotion. And I'm going to set up the,
Very important.
we're going to do this in color. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned again. We are going to be having some giveaways later. We've looked at two things so far. We've looked at black and white versus color, and we've looked at dialogue. We're now going to be taking a look at a scene in color, which is on the rooftop, and talk about emotion. And
absolutely,
where is it?
So important to create an environment where actors can show genuine emotion.
Is that right about the 1 hour mark?
The rooftop scene is after the dinner. Yeah.
Hold on.
Before that scene, yeah. There he is.
There he is.
You know the film well. You know the film better than I do.
I doubt that. Okay, there we go.
So yeah,
you see, Mexican Iron Man is such a fan, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't even need timestamps.
That's right. He's like, I know where that is.
All right,
you know, this scene also is about trusting each other, Mike.
Yes,
because he's throwing some real punches there.
Wait. Let me
no, this is it. This is where I do an associate. Back up a little bit. I actually want to show you. Right. This is an associative cut where she goes with the pillow, and then I use that wipe to go into the next scene.
All right, I'm going to take it back to here. Is that okay?
Well, you can go forward a little bit from here.
Okay.
A few minute or so. There's a.
Here
we go. This is like we're in his eyes. He's listening to them fighting. They're in a very abusive relationship.
Yes, it is a delightful surprise, isn't it?
He claims that it's a radio show.
Stop.
Now look how I use a mirror behind it so you can see the two faces east. You see the mother's reaction and hers in the same frame. I put that mirror there exactly there to be able to get all of that in the composition.
You don't have the guts.
There's the associative cut.
Can you? We could stop doing this. I have it all wrapped up in a neat little box. She's not to be found.
God, the sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a movie theater, you can feel it in your chest.
No. You killing her was worth it. I protected, sir, my city and the profitability of our ventures. I was mad that you didn't get the chair for murdering that backstabbing little whore. I guess you don't control everything, do you? Oh, yes, there is one thing I control tonight. You may disappear. That's a shame, because I have the black book. Liar. You risk it. The only one at risk is you. Yeah. No one knows you're up here with me. Now, we'll spend enough time together for you to tell me where the book is now. If not, you eventually will beg me to throw you off this roof. You're a missing person. You always were. Nobody's going to come and find you because nobody cares. Pull up a chair. Got a nice view. We got options. You don't have any options. You are going to disappear. I think you did to Catherine Mondema. I heard tonight. Let me clue you in. She's dead. Dead? Dead? You're lying. How? I ask the questions. You give the answers. If you don't, you are going to... Sir! Turn around, officer. Get back to what you were doing.
It's not that, sir. You said you didn't want to be interrupted unless he showed up. He's here.
He's here.
All right. Such a nice evening. Really nice evening. No, I think I'll give you a break until I get back. How about a jaw?
Oh. Okay, let's take a quick pause there.
Sure.
Wow. Wow.
Talk about emotion. The things he's saying, hurt more than the punches. Yeah.
Right.
You'll notice that it's like music. It's syncopated. The punches syncopate the real insult, the real hurt, which is you're a missing person. No one cares that you're up here. You're going to beg me to throw you off this thing. She's dead. You're hopeless. All of that is punching him in a way that the physicality can't. That's the emotion. Plus, if you notice the shot, when you're looking, you see that shot right there where you're behind me looking at Vernon?
Yes.
Those shots are the way that Drake feels. They all move like this. They're all woozy. When we're behind him, it's always solid, looking at me, way more set because he's got the power. Just like the girl came in and she was over Drake in the beginning, her power was over him and he was seated. The same power structure is happening here. This shot weaves around like a woozy man who's been hit, but when his point of view's there, it's rock solid on me. And that's a psychological effect. You're waging a psychological warfare with the audience that's watching it, that hopefully subconsciously they're like, wow, I feel like it's all over the place. And then when you realize it, it's actually showing the emotions of the character. He's so sarcastic. He's still giving quips, even though he doesn't think he's going to make it through that night. And that's the kind of emotional content you want. The physicality is level 1, but he and I created this little dance together to show the emotions. He's frustrated. He wants to intimidate. He wants to dominate. Drake wants to use his sarcasm to kind of avoid and dodge, and that's his last bit of armor. But he's getting hit over and over and over, physically and mentally, and he's trying to break him emotionally. And you can see even by my breathing, my nose is going in. It's doing things that you really would as an actor. You're in that moment, and I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling frustrated. I almost threw up when he hit me in the chest. You can hear the sound that I made. It's a trust exercise between me and Vernon, but it's very much where the characters are right now. He's so fed up with Drake, and Drake being so sarcastic takes away his power, and he hates that.
Shooter 1991 comments, he actually hit Tom one time, I believe.
Yes, he did. He did. He was in the middle of the scene. He throws a punch, and he was wearing gloves, but it cracked on me, and I'm really tied to the chair. Like I had him really tie me because my temptation was to put my arm up and block, so I'm tied to a wooden chair. He cracks me across there, and this is Vernon Wells throwing it, and I see for a second in his face, but I'm the director, so I was like, you keep going, you keep going. And he's like, okay. And then we went back into it. And then he hit me in the chest, and you hear me go, ah! And to his credit, he did not stop, even though we didn't talk about how much it was going to hurt or what kind of reaction I was going to be able to come up with in the moment. But emotionally, I came into that space and I got scared. He scared the crap out of me.
Was it done in one take?
It was done in 2 takes, one from one side and one from the other. Yep.
Wow. Now, Green Lion comments that it's some of the most realistic sound he's ever heard in a film.
Yeah, a lot of that is what's practically happening. And then the rest, I wanted a very real feel. And credit also to the mix I did at Monkeyland Records, Monkeyland Audio with Trip Brock. We really worked on the sound. I was telling you, Mike, I had 40 pages of sound of all the little details. It's a surround sound film, all the little things from one ticking clock to what this means to having a particular sound that anchors it. The punches and the fight in there, it needed to feel brutal and sweaty and oh, there we go. Yeah, to use for the punching sounds, they're brutal. It's a combination of head of lettuce, use some wet sounds, some thuds, wood. There is some practical stuff that I did to sell it where I was like, dang, you know, and you use all that stuff and throwing that combined with the sound, that crunching sound, it really worked.
We got $5 Australian came in from Brett Cohen, who asked, what's the best way to watch your film where you get the biggest cut of the money?
Oh, that's a great question, Brett. Thank you. And thank you for the donation. Brett, the best way to do it is either streaming on Tubi, because they do pay a little bit of the advertising money for it, or the if you buy on Amazon or somewhere, the Blu-ray in black and white. I do a little bit better to help pay off all of this. So yeah, those are the two places that are probably the best as far as getting a little bit back.
Pat S. asks, was Tom personally present when the Foley work was being done?
Yes. Yeah, we pretty much, you know, were hands-on at the actual final mix. Trip did, but I had provided all the elements and we had gone through all the elements when we do it. So any tweaks and stuff he ran by me, but they're such pros that they put together everything. I had a huge list of sounds and things that I wanted, and I even contributed sounds in the edit that they lifted. So yeah, I went over that thing with a fine-tooth comb.
Now, from your perspective, what is the difference between? I'm tempted to. I want to look at the fight scene in black and white really quickly. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, it's a very different experience.
Okay, I want to show everybody what that looks like and bring
Sure.
that up. So just
let's take a look.
1 second here. I'm gonna have to switch. Let me stop that, and then I'll be bringing this back up here. How am I doing so far, Mr. Konkle?
You are doing wonderfully. I'm really enjoying this, and I'm very grateful to the chat. And it's a lot of fun to talk about the film because you're taking me back and asking great questions.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get to, we have one or two more, we have one more scene to look at after this, and then we're going to open things up where you're all going to be able to ask your questions. We are going to get into budget issues, pitfalls, obstacles. And so for those of you that have your own dreams of your own movies, Tom's going to answer some of those questions.
Absolutely.
As well. All right, so let's take a look at it now. Let me know if the sound does not work for any reason, but here we go.
Absolutely.
Services tomorrow morning. Oh, that?
Do we have sound?
That's an unseemly radio play I have on in the background. I should have turned that down. I'm terribly sorry.
Now, notice
So,
the fight going on behind it. He said, oh, that's a
morning, bright
radio
and
show,
early.
but that's actually the two of them
Yes.
going at it.
It is a delightful surprise, isn't it? Stop! Stop!
I think the sync is off. Yeah.
Here. Use the pillow. It helps with her pain.
You don't have the guts.
No!
You can't leave one, can you?
No!
We could stop doing
That
this.
hurt.
I had your
Watch the camera, how woozy it is, and that background is like a cage. It's like you're in a jail, even though that's the regular aerial on top of a building.
Yeah, so
You got little people
that little
walking.
black book was worth killing her, huh? No, you killing her was worth it. I protected, sir, my city
His
and the
city.
profitability of our ventures. I was mad that you didn't get the chair for murdering that backstabbing little whore.
I guess you don't control everything, do you?
Oh yes, there is one thing I control tonight.
He did a great job.
You
feel the lettuce in pain.
That's a shame, because I am the black book. Liar. You risk it. The only one at risk is you. Yeah. No one knows you're up here with me. Now we'll spend enough time together for you to tell me where the book is now.
Set up that light on his face so he gets in and out of that edge light on his
Not
face.
you.
It's a face like Mount Rushmore.
Eventually, will beg me to throw you off this roof. You're a missing person. You always were. Nobody's going to.
I love how the sweat glistens.
Nobody
Yes.
cares.
We were hot. You see the steam coming off from the, in the
Pull up a
background.
chair. Got a nice view.
What I want to highlight here in black and white, I'm going to hit the mute for on the sound for a second, is that I love the way the light plays into this. I love the way the sweat glistens.
Yes, you can see it a lot more. Yeah.
And you know what was surprising to me is when I had the reaction again, even though I've seen the scene a dozen times, is that when the blood comes off, it feels a little bit more organically real.
More visceral. Yeah, you're right. It does feel more organic. It
like
feels
right there
more,
on this lip, like, you know, I mean,
yeah.
I got to tell, I don't know who did your makeup, but I got to tell you, that's whoever did your makeup really looks like you're bleeding out.
It's Rebecca and Lindsay, and she did a fantastic job. We started with basic makeup, and then as I got the crap beat out of me, it just naturally started to smear around, and I got some on my shoulder there, and it just really worked. It helped me too be in that guy's state of mind with his black eye, and he's abused, and it's about, you know, police corruption and all of that, and, you know, the 3 against 1, and so yeah, the makeup really sold it.
Regardless of his age, I mean, you're doing the scene with a guy who's really strong. I mean, he's
very strong. Yeah, I mean, his punch would just clean you out. By the way, this is the most surreal scene because when I get punched in that where he goes, "I'll give you a break, how about a jaw?" It takes me into my own flashback of the girl that he says, that whore that got killed. This is me trying to rescue her. There's Lou, my unscrupulous partner. Lou leaves me out to dry. And Mike Smith and I decided to stage it in an aircraft hangar. So you get that old plane behind me. And then I wanted to have this kind of surreal, dreamlike, this is how he fails. This is how he gets ruined. And I made it into a very, I killed somebody with a pencil before John Wick.
You did.
I did.
I've been meaning to mention that to you for months now, but yeah, you did.
I did.
You long before there was a John Wick.
Long before John Wick did it, I did it. Look at this kind of thing. I really love taking an abstraction like that, where you get the detective in silhouette. He's trying to rescue her, but it's fruitless because he's outgunned. This is going to be his undoing, and it turns out that the rescue itself was its own trap. It was to frame him, to ruin him. And so he does his best, but he's just being hit from all directions, literally. So it's a symbolic, dreamlike sequence. But this thing has 3 nested dreams. The real-time story is in the car telling his partner, Lou, what happened on the way to the cemetery when he goes, you know, she's still alive, take me to the cemetery, which is the dichotomy. And then there's a dream within a dream, which is when characters get hit, we see their backstory. When they sleep, we see their backstory. So you can see Vernon set me up and he shot the girl. And then he puts the gun back in my hand and he ruins me. And back then, if you had something like that, there wasn't a way to go forensics. There wasn't. It was the cop's word against yours. And if you were in a corrupt system like that, you were on the out, you know, and that's what made Drake sitting alone in an office. He lost everything. Lou left him. Everything was lost in that moment. And it's all because of Nadia, that girl that he thought he could rescue. And he thinks he can get a second chance with Jennifer.
Right. And second chances at love are.
Yeah. Second chances are what noir is all about. Taking them away.
Well, let's jump now. So we've discussed dialogue, we've discussed emotion, we've discussed black and white versus color. We're now going to take a look at world building in cinema, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this in color, as well as black and white. And
yes,
I'm going to jump to what's called we call it the streetcar scene, for lack of a better word. I think it's that one. Yeah, let me. Oops, gotta show.
Yeah, and just to set it up, Mike, they have just gone to see the only person who tells the truth, who is a gangster who's the most corrupt. He's a Russian mobster, and he's the one who tells them who they really are. He's the one who actually tells the truth in the film. And they walk out of the hotel that he's been staying in, and that's when Drake starts to go, none of this is making sense. And we really wanted to build a world. So you can see how this world feels And we can talk a little bit, because you asked me a great question about color a few days ago. We'll talk about it in color and black and white. This is the world they live in outside.
Right. So let's take a look at that now. Here we go.
My office, and Catherine, I am not stopping until I find out how she's tied into all this. Isn't that what you were all fired up about?
So,
after hearing Gavron, a lot of things are starting to make sense. Little things. I came into possession of a book a while ago. For months, it didn't make sense, and then I met you. All of a sudden, random names, numbers, information start popping up. I think between that and you, I could find this diamond. I could bring down Tate's operation, and I could finally clean up this city that you're suddenly in such a hurry to leave.
and get us both killed in the process.
Gavron thought he was being cryptic, all right? But that book is the last missing puzzle piece that makes all this make sense. I can find your diamond. Trust me?
I trust you.
Crazy. Cars really give a location too. It really makes you feel a period when you have a car.
Where to, Mac?
1130 Linden Avenue, Warehouse District.
Okay, I got to go back real quick. I love I want everybody to notice something here. I love when you guys get in the car and you see the depth.
Yes.
Everybody look between them and look at the depth of the shot. There's one example.
In such a hurry to leave.
And get us both killed in the process.
Gavron thought he was being
The movie marquee.
That book is the last missing puzzle piece that makes all this make sense. I can find your diamond. Trust me?
I trust you.
Thank you, Olaf. There's that moment. Does he trust her?
Don't get in that car.
Wait, too, Mac.
Where to, Mac?
See the old gas station?
Yep.
Yeah, look at that depth behind them. And there's the cable car still moving. Those cable cars don't exist in LA anymore. We had to find a model in Europe that was similar to the cable cars back then and then move it and animate it.
Wow.
I call that nice try, Lao Shay. Remember in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, he closes the door. He's like, nice try, Lao Shay. And they dolly in on the guy's face. I was like, that's my nice try, Lao Shay shot.
All right, now we're going to do the same shot in black and white. Let me find it.
1130 Linden Avenue was the first apartment I ever lived in LA. But
You've got some comments. Let me bring those up. This is from the last scene. Pop said the smoke from the rounds firing being captured in an independent film is quite impressive. Details like that get lost in lower budget projects.
That is true. It was important to me. That's part of the reality is that, you know, if you fire a pistol or you fire something, you're going to have that. And it's a nice little detail that if you catch it, it's great.
And then there's another comment here that said, this is from the beat up scene. Green Lion was feeling the pain of the lettuce. Hashtag lettuce lives matter, I believe.
Yeah, lettuce lives matter.
Lettuce lives matter.
I love it.
Let's see. We also got this comment that said, Ola Vanessa says, loves the basic use of colors, green, yellow, and red in the lights. And Troy Pacelli asks, where do y'all get the cars when you do a project like this?
You know what? That's a great story. Dave, the guy that plays Lou Archer, was watching a TV show and he saw an ad for an automobile museum. It was a car museum in, I think, El Segundo or something like that. And they let them drive the cars. And so I thought, you know what? That's a terrific idea because nothing really, I think you'll agree with me, makes you feel a time or a place like seeing a car. You watch a 70s film, you see 70s cars. You see an old film like a 40s film, you feel those cars. It puts you in that place. And I thought, gosh, if we could get some real cars, not just digital cars, but real cars, it would really help. So we went down there and it turns out this guy was the nicest guy who ran this thing, and he completely got it. His son worked in visual effects and had done movies. And he said, you know what, guys? I love you guys. Come on down and shoot in the museum. And so we were able to drive the cars and sometimes I had to leave the car in the museum and build the set and the scene around it. But we got access to all those cars from the 40s through the museum.
Right. All right,
It's called the Automobile Driving Museum.
Oh, what was that noise here? Let me share. Now I'm going to bring it up in black and white. I don't have the
Yes, the black and white does blend the digital backgrounds, definitely. You know, we didn't have a lot of money, and it helps. Anything just kind of smooth it out.
Is that the comment from Cosmic Vader?
Yes, it's very true. Very true.
Okay, let me get this.
It's really hard to do. I mean, something on this level has 2,000 visual effects, and you know, it's difficult to do.
Okay, where is it? Where the street? Is it before that? Where am I? I lost my place in this. Hold on. When they go down to the street, it's towards 1 hour 45. No, one.
So yeah, before all that.
Yeah, it's before all this.
Yeah. There, that was Gavron. There.
Wait.
Gavron's scene is kind of fun too.
No, you know what scene's hot is the one where you're with Miss Powell.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. How many takes did you take to shoot that one, buddy?
Hundreds. Lots of.
Oh, you were looking for perfection, right?
That's right, perfection. I think the scene with Gavron is a little later than that. Yeah. I don't know. It's showing a weird screen.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time doing the timestamps on it.
Yeah, there it was.
There?
No, well, it had the right. That's the right picture.
Yeah, there's something wrong with the. Hold on. Oh, you know what? This is the trailer.
Oh.
That's why I'm having a hard
I
time.
wonder we're all over the place.
Okay, hold on. Stop. I grabbed the wrong one. Hold on.
I'm glad you're enjoying it, Juan.
All right, now we're ready. See, Mexican Iron Man, not always perfect.
Well, I have a question here. While you're looking for it, I can answer something from Robert.
Okay.
Let's bring that up. Robert, yeah. So it was divided up. There was a preliminary shoot to kind of get the first 10, 12 minutes of it. And that shoot was done in 4 or 5 days to get the first 10 minutes or so. Then, over time, as availabilities came up, I decided, you know what? We need to do this thing and just get it done. So over the course of, say, 18 to 19 days, we shot in the various locations, broken down like this. If it was something that was on a set, we had something we had to physically touch, and you have a background that you would build, a digital extension or something, we would have all that studio time. And then I looked at all the places we actually needed to physically go, like the cemetery, when we would go out into the alleyways and things like that. We tried to design it so that there was the least what they call company moves. That's where you have to pick everything up and go. One thing that we had that was kind of nice is with the digital solution, you could shoot the hotel in the same place that you shoot some of the the house scenes and all that. And I basically designed and built with Mike Smith a green screen stage with a cyc. It was over 30 feet long, built from scratch, built the lighting grid on it, painted it green, went and sampled what color green they were and had a regular paint company mix it and built that stage. And I knew certain things I would be able to film there. The rest was filmed on sets, the offices and things like that was all built on sets. So about 18 days plus 4 pickup days.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a look at it now in black and white, everyone. Here we go.
Here we go. And you can see how dreamlike it is. And if you look back there on the marquee, it says "Build My Gallows High." That was the name of the book that was based on my favorite film noir is called Out of the Past with Robert Mitchum and Jane Greer. It's directed by Jacques Tournier. And so the book it's based on is "Build My Gallows High." So we actually have it playing on the movie theater behind it. And then you have the real cable cars moving through.
So when the cable cars come by, those are miniature models that you got out of Europe, and then you
Yes, those are digital miniatures that are animated into the scene to be the way the cable cars were in LA when we used to have them. Yes.
Wow. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
To the eye of Vishnu, we will want for nothing.
Wait, we need to get some things clear here, sister. I haven't solved one thing you came to me to investigate. What about your father? What about the man dead in my office? And Catherine? I am not stopping until I find out how she's tied into all this. Isn't that what you were all fired up about?
So?
So, after hearing Gavron, a lot of things are starting to make sense.
Love that sound.
Little things. I came into possession of a book a while ago. For months, it didn't make sense, and then I met you. All of a sudden, random names, numbers, information start popping up. I think between that and you, I could find this diamond. I could bring down Tate's operation, and I could finally clean up this city that you're suddenly in such a hurry to leave.
And get us both killed in the process.
Gavron thought he was being cryptic, all right? But that book is the last missing puzzle piece that makes all this make sense. I can find your diamond. Trust me?
I trust you.
Where to, Mac?
1130 Linden Avenue, Warehouse District.
Wow.
The guy driving it is the guy in charge of the cars at the museum.
Wow.
And there's a shot where he's a sinister guy. And there's Lou behind who's been listening to the whole thing. The only thing that's really in that shot is that railing. We're actually standing during the day. We're standing at the railing and the steps of the actual museum. So we turned it into a night shot, and then everything else is added.
Quick question. Horror Master has to go, but wanted to know about Phantom of the Cross Killer.
Oh yeah, that's something I've been working with a guy named Ethan about. Hopefully, if we can get something together, we'd be filming more movies next year. Hopefully.
Now, one of the things I wanted to go back and show something again on this real quick. It's for the benefit of everybody, and I just have a quick question about your shooting. It's a technical question which has to do with when things are in focus and when they're not. And I'm just going to sort of let it run.
Things
Now,
clear
in
here, sister.
I haven't solved. Let me mute it here.
Mhm.
Let me blow this up a little bit. When we're looking at it here,
yes,
we've got things in the back are as vivid as they are in the front, and I'm guessing that's what you mean by your world building technique, so that
Yes.
we can see the environment, we can see where we're at. Then
You
at
wanna-
certain points, now here, it's everything in the back is much more blurred, but the focus is on him and what he's
Yeah.
feeling and what he's saying and what he's doing, and
His
and,
world
and
closes down. Yeah.
the world closes down, and that's what you've done with that focus. Is that why is that technique deployed in movie making?
This technique I deployed all the time in this, because what happens is when you feel the whole environment, you're using something called a very deep focal length. When you're feeling everything's in focus. I use that in the scene in the cafe when they go to the diner.
Yes.
When it starts, you feel it, and then as the conversation gets intimate, it falls off right behind the ears and becomes out of focus. The same thing happens here. As the conversation gets intimate, as their world starts to whisper, and they start to want to say things to each other they don't want anyone to hear, the world falls away. If you've ever talked to somebody and you really get into that conversation, have you noticed you just focus on their face and their eyes and the rest of the world drops away? So I used a variety of lenses. A short focal lens, like a 24 millimeter lens, is a wide angle. It has a lot of things in focus. It shows a lot of depth of field.
And then here you're letting them pull away, yet everything's in focus.
Yes.
At the same time, we see our antagonist. We we're supporting Kat's character, and then I love how it was all in focus, and then you let the focus go away, and we went right back to our
You
antagonist.
go right in on the faces, which is the important thing in that moment. Directing is all about helping the audience know what's important in a frame, in a shot, in a scene, by using visual cues, by all of the focal lengths that you choose. A long lens makes everything kind of fall back. I get further back and use a long lens. The face really pops. pops and the rest kind of falls away. And every shot is intentional. It's all me just trying very hard to tell the story visually. So if the sound was off, you would know the relationship between everybody and what was kind of going on in that. I want to hop on those cable cars. I know it would be so much fun to ride one of those cable cars.
Well, I think the comment of what Green Lion's getting at is that they feel that world building that you've done is done so well that you feel that you could step into this movie and step onto one of those cable cars.
Yes. Yeah, they feel very present. And that's I studied a bunch of color photography of LA. You know, I love the history of LA. And I found a lot of great 16 millimeter, 35 millimeter color stuff. You'd be surprised how bright and colorful everything was painted yellow and red. We only ever see it in black and white, but it was beautiful. So I wanted to capture that feeling. It should feel like a time machine. Like you could hop on that cable car and ride somewhere. Good world building is like there's something around the corner. Like I want to know what's going on around the corner.
Real quick, one of the comments, one of the perceptions that I had when I was watching your use of color.
Mm-hmm.
I asked you this the other day, which is that I found it fascinating that when I was watching how you use color,
Mm-hmm.
it felt more vivid and real to me. And when we were talking the other day, I told you that the last time I felt it had sort of that classic Hollywood feel in the sense of like Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
And one of the things that stuck out for me, because I rewatched this movie again in color for today, for today's show. And I recently saw Universe of Man, Doctor Strange, Marvel, the last 2 or 3 Marvel movies.
Yeah.
I look at how they've used colors, and they're dealing with budgets that are $200 million, and you're not.
Yeah.
They've got all these colors. There's all these things supposedly happening. Yet I'm looking at color here. Look everyone at the screen right now. I'm looking at how you use color, and there's something that's more believable about it, more real about it. And it makes me want to feel warm about the movie. Yet when I'm sitting in the theater watching Doctor Strange in the Universe of Madness, I feel nothing. What is it about color in film that matters?
You know what? That's a great question, because with this, we tried to anchor it in some organics. It's a tribute to the aesthetic of Mike Smith and everybody that worked on it to try and make it feel lived in and real. With a Marvel movie, the problem is you're really watching almost a 2D 3D animated movie at that point. It's crazy. There's no foundation that your mind can kind of latch onto and go, oh, okay, I believe that. The problem is when you get so heavy with CGI, it gets so heavy with unrealistic colors and the look that your brain can't wrap itself around that, and so it just feels like it's distancing.
Isn't all of this green screen?
A lot of it is green screen. Yeah, all of it is.
Okay, but yet the way you use color and taking that time gives me a more pleasant
organic. Yeah,
it gives me a more pleasant viewing experience than say when I watched Universe of
Yeah, exactly. It's color time like Wizard of Oz. We were talking about that. Wizard of Oz is a dreamlike thing. She moves from a black and white reality to the heightened reality of it. This has that Technicolor look, that hyper real coloring, but very much more warm and enveloping and hopefully more pastel feel than something like a Marvel film. I tried to get a particular look to this film that felt like the colors were part of the conversation, that were part of the world. And I feel like, for me, what makes an effect great is when it either makes an emotional part of the scene, or you go, wait, that's an effect, but I buy it and I'm in, or I don't even notice it. And with a film with a low budget like this, you have to apply those effects because you just don't have the money to do it. But you apply them very carefully to try and create an effect. And sometimes we're, successful. We do the best that we can. Like, I love that shot where the cars pull up and then we creep along this, and there's literally just a fog around Vernon when he gets out.
That.
And I'm turning lights around and I'm hitting his face just on important words that he says.
Right. I love this scene.
You can see in his eyes, and there's a sweeping light that comes up, and there's one cop sort of out of focus in the background. This whole thing was on a stage. The car never moved.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I see that shot of him. That's money to me. I love that kind of. Even in color, it works. Black and white, it works. Color, it works. Red is always around him because red is danger, but also it's the red and blue lights of the police.
And we've got some comments now that I'm going to go ahead. We're going to shift gears now, people, and start asking you questions. We're going to start addressing your questions and some of your comments. Shooter 1991 comments that I have a great friendship with Tom because of this movie. It's the best. This one and Noise in the Middle.
Oh yeah, Noise in the Middle. Yeah.
Can't wait for the sequel. He says. It makes want to do Tom and my horror film noir called The Cross Killer that much faster. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Pops asked a question. It says, if you were starting production again tomorrow, what is one shot or scene that you would change if you could?
Nothing is ever finished, only abandoned. I think if I had to change some shots, I would have spent more time on the scenes in the cemetery. I would have given myself more time to film in there. I think probably a shot or scene that I would really like to revisit, if possible, is the whole warehouse scene. I would like a few more days to really work out the geography and maybe be a little more ambitious with the combat at the end. I made it like, gunfights were in the 1940s, which were very straightforward, bang, bang, you go in. But I wish I had more time in the warehouse stuff. So that is definitely something I changed. There's some things, though, I would not change. They worked out, directing is presiding over a series of happy accidents sometimes. If you're super prepared, and I had everything sort of scripted out and storyboarded, and I knew what I wanted, there was only one way to shoot each one of these shots. I didn't shoot a bunch of stuff and not know what I was doing. I think if you create an environment where people know you have their back as performers and as the crew, you get some happy accidents.
We also have a rhetorical question, unless you have an insight. I wonder how different it is to film a feature like this and the footage for a computer game like L.A. Noire. Now, interestingly enough, people don't know, but I happen to know about you that you have been in many video games.
Yes.
Can you share that with people?
I have. I've been in Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. I have a lot of friends that did L.A. Noire. My friend Adria was in that. She played my wife in a television commercial. She's one of the main characters in L.A. Noire. It is a very different experience. Footage for a computer game is like doing live theater. You literally are in a suit. I had a camera mounted on me. I had all the dots. You have these kind of soft boxes and pieces of cloth and things. Then they're like, okay, this is the bar, this is that, and you move around. It is like doing live theater. Filming a film like this is much more tactile. You have sets, you're wearing a costume. When you're doing a computer game, you're basically in a jumpsuit or a diver suit with all these sensors and stuff on you, and it's filming your face. So motion capture feels like live theater again. And it's great. As an actor, you get to go back to being like 14 years old, where you're like, okay, now I'm here. And in this film, I got to do that a little bit because of the green screen and creating the world, but it's a totally different experience. It's also more disconnected doing a computer game because there's so many branches to the story that there's like, okay, now do the scene where they say yes. Okay, now do the scene where they say no. Now do the scene where they shoot you, So there's so many different branches. It's like a very complex puzzle to do a computer game. In a movie like mine, the puzzle is the script and working out the schedule, but when you actually do it, there's one resolution, there's one scene, there's not multiple choices. And it's a very different mindset. It's a great question. Thank you, Troy.
Could you talk a little bit? Basically, everyone, if you haven't made a comment, please comment in the chat. I'm setting up the giveaway right now. Troy Pacelli commented earlier. I've seen this film about a dozen times, but this is the most he's ever seen it in color.
Okay, great. A different experience, Troy. I'd love to hear what you think.
Olaf added that if you hadn't mentioned that they were miniatures, he would have thought that they were real, meaning correct in scale and size and all of that.
That's terrific. Yeah, unfortunately, they've dismembered all of the cable car system out here. But yes, we tried really hard. And credit to Mike Smith too. He's a nut about travel and technology.
And Conspiracy says we should add this episode as part of an extra feature for future packaging of this film. I think people are enjoying this director's cut.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think that would be wise. Yes, then thank you, Mike, for putting it together.
Oh my God, it's my my honor and pleasure. Shanatsky asks, what kind of film would you do if you had a huge budget?
I right now would do an old school sci-fi pulp adventure. I have it's a $22 million budget. It is sort of like a Jules Verne adventure mixed with Raiders of the Lost Ark. It would have battles in it, and it would be like those pulp magazines, Doc Savage and all of that. I would love to make a original adventure movie. Also, I have another film called Test Drive, which is a contained space thriller set in a speeding car. I would love to have the budget to do that, but I have maybe 10 projects I'd love to do that require a bigger budget.
Could you talk a little bit about the challenges I'm going to bring up the challenges in making this film from a budgetary standpoint. I'd like to ask you two questions.
Sure.
One, a two-parted question. How much was the budget of this film? How did you put together the capital? And number two is, what were the biggest obstacles aside from money in making this film?
Great questions. The budget, when all was said and done, and I include, promotion and delivery and everything on it, the budget was around $200,000. And that really was an equity investment. I did a little bit of crowdfunding to kind of get it started, but it didn't get us very far. We raised about 10,000, maybe 15. I found some equity investors that went ahead and did it, and they made their money back. The biggest obstacle, other than the money, was resources. I called in every marker I had. I've been really lucky. I've been doing this for 20, 25 years, so I know great actors. I know great crew. It was finding out their availability, asking them, can I fall on your sword? And if I do this, can I ask you to, at a cut rate, would you help me do this dream of mine of this film? And so many people stepped up and did it. The obstacles were always time. You never have enough time to do what you need to do. Everyone will tell you that, you're battling against that. And just getting it physically done with the people was super tiring. So I think during the process of making it, it was a grueling experience. I loved every second of it. I love making movies. I loved acting in it. I love writing movies. Directing for me, though, doesn't feel like work. It just comes effortlessly. I make 1,000 decisions in an hour, and I love it. The other struggle was in post-production. Took a long time because we didn't have the resources, we didn't have the people. So it really came down to Mike Smith and I seeing it across the finish line, and that was a real obstacle because I got a lot of anxiety that would this thing ever get done, and when it did, I was so happy.
What was the time process like from beginning to end to get it done? From like walk us through broadly the year. Like what year did you start writing this? How long did it take to get the script together? Then, walk us through the life. Like if it were
Absolutely.
a baby, when was the baby born?
Yeah.
And when did the baby get to film?
Exactly. I started thinking about doing it in 2012 and worked on the script for almost a year, worked with Brittany on it. We would read it as actors, we'd write lines and come up with structure on cards and things. And then I had definite ideas that I wanted in the story. And the story started to shape itself after about 10 or 11 drafts. It started to really feel good. And then I would say a year later, we started to really look at shooting the first 10 minutes or so. And I think for me, once we started rolling on that, it was a matter of logistics. So we spread things out from 2015 to
Tom,
about.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Could you make me a moderator on your thing so I can we got some bots coming in, some porn bots, and I just
Okay, of course.
Or you zap them or make me a mod and I'll zap them. Either way.
I'll zap them.
Okay.
Although it looks like a really good deal.
No.
But you know what? The thing for me too was the thing really gave birth around 2016, 2017. We were really shooting intensely, and we finally got some blocks where, okay, let's shoot everything. Let's get Vernon in here. Let's shoot in the cemetery. Let's shoot everything in the green screen stage. Everything got wrapped up after that 18 days. It was spread out over a long period of time. And then the post process was at least a year, getting the music done, doing the edit. I did the edit with Mike, and we had Locked Picture, and then we went to Monkeyland Audio to do the sound, and I had copious notes on that. Then we did a final hone on that, and then you have the whole adventure of getting a distributor and doing what you need to do to get the movie out there, and then delivering the movie with all the elements they need. They need sound effects, they need the captioning and all that. So the birthing process on this was about 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I look at that and it's like, that's me in 2017, no beard, a lot thinner, a lot younger. And it was your analogy of giving birth was very true. Yeah, it was birthing a baby. It's like managing a small war. I say you put everyone around a hole, and then you just got to push everybody in the hole at the same time.
Yeah, well, tough guy. Yeah, Brittany. Okay, you know what? Yeah, yeah, poor guy. Yeah, tough life, buddy. Tough life.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun working with everybody. We had no fights. We had no conflicts on the set. I'm proud of that. Some people think the only way you can create is in conflict, or you have to fire somebody to show that you're the boss. If you're really the boss, you can be cool. You can be nice. It's much easier and much better to enroll people in what you're doing. If I'm clear of my vision and people know that I have their back, they will follow you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the giveaway.
All right.
You ready? You ready for that?
Let's do this thing.
All right, hold on. Let's add this to the stream here. We've got the giveaway. I've gone through systematically everybody that made a comment tonight. And what's going to happen, I'm going to do a demo, and then here's what we're going to do. Because I know some people have come and gone, what we're going to do is we're going to pick 5 winners, and we're going to pick 3 alternates, because I've done this before many times.
Okay.
And what I've often found is that what you're going to have to do, everybody, in order to be a winner and get this, what's going to happen is you got to send me on Twitter DM, either DM me on Twitter or send me an email. And if you want, Tom, I have a comment where I have my Twitter and my DM, my Twitter and all that stuff. If you can just pin that to the top or something. And what you're going to need to do is that if you're a winner, you got to send me where you want this, and we'll keep your contact information private. We don't even need your name if you don't want to give it to us, but we need an address. And so you'll send it to me. The way this is going to work is I'm going to order the copies of it, and then they're going to be shipped over to Tom, and then I'm going to have all the labels done, and he's literally just going to sign them however you want it signed. And so however you want your copy signed, he's going to sign it exactly the way you want. So if you want to say 2 Mexican Iron Man, he'll sign it 2 Mexican Iron Man.
Okay. Yes. Perfect.
All right. So here we go. You ready, Tom?
I am ready. Let's do this thing. Let's light this candle.
Let's light this candle. All right. Here we go.
Dun, 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 dun.
Netters Network is our first winner.
Woo!
Woo-hoo!
Perfect. Good choice. Good choice.
All right. Here we go. Ready for our second winner.
So DM Mexican Iron Man on Twitter.
Yeah. Our next winner is Dave Bob, who just got here. All right. Winner.
Woo! He's like, what's going on? What did I miss?
Next winner.
Come on, come on, come on. Here we go. Luck of the dice.
Oh, Brett Cohen.
There we go, Brett.
Oh, Brett. Brett's going to be a good one because he's in Australia. I just sent some stuff to Australia a couple weeks ago.
Oh, well, hopefully he's a Vernon Wells fan. There you go.
That's 3, right?
That's 3 so far, sir.
All right. Robert. Yeah, perfect. Robert had some comments in there. Make sure you contact me. And hey, by the way, if all 8 of you send me your contact info, everybody wins. I'm just saying, if the first 5 and anyone doesn't, then you move up in line. But so so let's go. Let's see who the next winner is. That's 4, right?
Hey, Bob's like, what did I win? Who are you people? Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, my
nice.
girl, the lovely Sherry wins. My girl. All right,
that's terrific. So yes, hit you up. If I need to pin something, send it to me and I will pin it. to contact.
And is that Lady Mist or Baron? Oh, Baron Ormontak. Okay.
Nice.
So that's number 6. 2 more to
Yep.
go, ladies and gentlemen.
1 more to go. Heat up that dice. Rub what's lucky. Rub what's lucky. There.
Shanatsky! my good brother, Shanatsky. By the way, Shanatsky is putting together his own, when the time comes, I'm going to talk to you about it. He's putting together his own amazing concept for a TV series.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't get to talk too much Q&A, but definitely if anyone wants to send me some questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Southern Viking!
Yay, there we go. I love it.
All right. Those are 8 people.
Perfect.
Those are 8 people. And let's see here. What I'd like to do on the way out the door is I am going to show people. When we started the show, we started it with the color trailer. And on the way out, we'd like to do the black and white. But before we do that, I want to thank you very much for allowing us. Did you have fun?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. I was a little nervous to do this, and you put me at ease, and we talked about it, and I'm really glad. I hope people enjoyed the stream, and it's so much fun to go back and enjoy the movie with other people and see it again and sort of tell stories about how it got made. That was the whole point of making it.
It is, and I'm going to tell you this. Do you remember? And I'm going to share this with people in the live stream too. Let me get back on the camera for a second, real quick. Tell people that I think I watched it with my mom when she came out and stayed with me. And after the movie, do you remember I called you on your cell?
Yeah.
Tell
Like,
everybody. Tell everybody. Do you remember what my mom told you?
She said, "Don't." Oh, was it about the ending?
Don't give away the ending. No. Okay, wait. She said 2 things to you. Don't say the first thing.
You say the other one. You say the other one.
Okay. So what she said is, she said, "Thank you so much. I loved it. Thank you for giving me a movie that I can enjoy." And she said, literally, she says, "It's hard to find good movies these days. And thank you for giving me a movie that I could watch with my boy."
That means a lot to me, and that's exactly the kind of movie.
And I looked at her. I'm like, I couldn't have written a better comment. And it was like within 3 minutes of finishing the movie, I said, "Tom, can I call you? I'm with my mom. She just
That's
saw your
right.
movie." Live theater reaction, and we were in my house at my home theater.
You know what? Getting a call like that, Mike, makes all this work worth it, because I love you when you're sitting here doing your thing and it's long and you're trying to get stuff done. To have your mom say something like that, it's like golf. That one good shot that makes you go through the next 50 shots because it felt so good to make that shot. It means so much to me when someone says, "Hey, I liked your movie. It was a lot of fun. It's why I made it." And I love to make movies that Grandma can see and you can see. And the next movie I want to make, Island in the Stars, a sci-fi thing, it's exactly that. It's a movie that everybody can go and see. It's basically old school entertainment where you could just enjoy the movie and not worry about anything else.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. On the way out the door, you're going to get to see the trailer for the movie one more time, except this time in black and white. Thank you, Tom Konkle. Thank you, everyone in chat. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And make sure you send your information, and we will get those out to you in the next couple weeks.
Perfect. Thank you all. Sound. No sound.
What? No sound?
No sound.
Uh-oh. I blew it. Let me go back. I didn't know that we didn't have sound. All right. Hold on. Here we go. Oh, sorry about that. Let me just reset it one more time.
This, by the way, let's set this up. This is the international trailer. I got to revisit it a year later and accented new things and different things. Thank you, everybody. Brett, Casperius, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Oh, we got some more super chats that came.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, hold on, let me grab those real quick.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. Koala's in the Rain from Midnight Sedge.
Koala's in the Rain. I love it.
$10. Thank you so much. And then Brett Cohen, $5. Sterling, great conversation, guys. Long live independent cinema. Yes. Long live independent cinema.
We need some independent. Absolutely. Thank you all.
All right.
This is the international trailer, which has a very different feel.
You have sound now?
Yep.
I protected, sir, my city and the profitability of our ventures.
Here's the globe.
I was mad that you didn't get the chair for murdering a backstabbing little whore.
Are you the best?
Find out.
There is one thing I control tonight. You may disappear. And the infamous Mr. Drake, scourge of the police. One no points bulletin put out on Roland Drake.
What's the charge, sir?
I'll come up with something.
Drake!
What did you do to my sister?
Beyond the obvious? No.
Don't mess this one up.
There's that shot.
I don't know him.
Give it to me. Am I understood?
Yes, sir.
Drake. Green line. There we go. I had fun putting that one together.
Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Thank you. Good night.